Hey guys, Canaan here from Basin Motorsports. Today we're getting back on the 86 hatchback, the Foxbody Mustang that I'm going to restore, do vinyl wrap, and eventually going to sell this year. Now up to this point, we have gone through this car completely. So 2 years ago I pulled it out of a field, brought it home. I got it to start at the time, but it leaked severe oil. Just really just kind of a haggard car, kind of left for death in a field, and I brought it home, got it going. So to this point, we've already gone through the fuel system. We've already replaced all the fluids in it. I've resealed the engine. I put a rebuilt brand new transmission into it. At this point, we're getting the body ready to get ready for a vinyl wrap that will be done. And then we're going to finish it up by going through the interior. So at this point, what you can see in the garage here is that all of the main body of the car is completely covered in body filler. So this is just a thin skim coat, just trying to cover up the thing. Now, if you look over this body after I'd gone through everything, what you'd find is that it's just got a little bit of depression where I've gone and cleaned up all the surface rust. So most of the rest of the car is good with paint. It just needs to be scuffed and covered. But what you've got here is two different colors. So the green is some leftover Evercoat glass light that I had when I worked on the Wide Fox doing the body kit on it. The green, or not the green, but the pink here is 3M Bondo filler. And then that is what I had. So I had a little bit left of each, so I used all of that. And then on the fenders and the fuel door and that, I broke out a new thing of Bondo. So this was all done this morning. It is not ready to go yet. It's still kind of curing out. But this was done 2 days ago. So most of this car is ready to go to be sanded, and I'm going to put it outside so I don't cover everything in here with dust. So once we got that, let me go ahead and get this door open, and we'll get the car backed out into the driveway to be able to sand and not get too far, I guess too dusty and too far in here. Now, if you guys watched my 2021 video, I had mentioned that I was going to start looking at things more of a business way. So right now, as I'm filming this, in the mornings and that when it's cold out, I am building a website for Basin Motorsports. I don't have a direct link to it yet. It's either going to go from basinmoto.com or basinmotorsports.com, all one word. Both are available, but they will link over to a site. Now, on that site, there's going to be basically the home base for all the activity that I do. You can link to Facebook from there. You can link to Instagram from there. You can link to YouTube from there. I'm also going to carry a blog with articles based on written word of all the stuff I do. It'll have some pictures. It'll have links to products in that where I do reviews and stuff I'm going to sell. Now, I did mention in the 2021 video that I was going to look at doing an AMSOIL dealership, and I have already completed the process for that. So I'm officially an AMSOIL dealer for their full line of products. I use a lot of it here on the farm, whether it's for cars, gasoline treatments, oil, and that, and tractors, basically anything I've done here, generators, chainsaws, all of that stuff. I had used AMSOIL for 20 years through that. So if you're looking for AMSOIL products, I do have the ability to sell that. It's a direct mail to you. It doesn't come through me. It can go through that way. And I'm also going to have pictures of vinyl wraps I've done. I will have some information back on all of my project cars over the last probably 10 or 12 years or so. And anything else that's coming up, I'll keep in line with on there. So that's going to be there. Again, it'll be a complete website full of all the projects, but it'll also have all the intangible stuff, kind of the pieces out there, kind of like a home base. But now, let's get out here and start sanding. All right, so the car outside, I'm just going to cover up most of the engine bay with plastic sheeting just to keep some of the dust down from getting down into the engine bay. It keeps me from having to clean it later. Same with like the cowl and that, you can see it's kind of mocked up there. Just keep some of the dust out. So the plan is get the DA. It's got a 220 grit paper on it. So that will kind of go through this pretty quick. I don't plan on doing a lot. There's not a lot of filler on this. Really, I tried my best to get the thinnest coat in there just to basically seal up anything else and to level out the surface. So the cowl can be done, passenger door, passenger quarter, hatch, driver's quarter can be done, but the door here and the roof on this side needs to wait another day. That was just done this morning. It'll help cure this afternoon being out in the sun and that. I'll double check it. It still feels kind of soft and tacky, so we'll do that. Now, I've got my breather here, my respirator, keeps it out, and then I've got clothes on that I can get dusty, so no big deal. So let's get to work. All right, so here's a first look at some of the sanding. So the cowl coming out pretty good. Got a little deep there, so that's exposed metal that I'll have to recover and primer, but no big deal. That will sand nice and smooth. So cowl looks good. Roof, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work trying to get all this back off. I think I went a little too heavy on this Bondo, or the filler, I should say. A little crazy on it, and that's just gonna be my mistake. So I will get it all back off. It's just going to take time. You can look at it. We'll get it all back down smooth. Get everything back right. Kind of looking around. Lots of low areas. No big deal. It's just going to take more effort than I probably wanted to, but it's going to be beautiful when it's done. So there's a good look, especially on that door. You can see how much I've got to do on that. But that was the worst door of the piece. And then the cowl on this side. That's looking pretty good there. So as you can see, I'm outside today, and tell you what, it is a couple days to Christmas when I'm getting started on this, and I can already tell you this is going to be a long time of sanding to get every panel back to the way I want, and then to get it sanded all the way through 1500 grit, which is going to be a lot. So the main body's sitting out here. I will do as much outside as I can, but I can tell you it's like 3:45 in the afternoon, and it is starting to get cold. Oh, I can't see my breath, but I can tell you what, my hands are already starting to get cold. I'm trying to do as much outside so I don't get dust everywhere in the garage, but I think there's going to be a day, probably in the next week or two, that's just no longer going to be an option. It's just going to be, what is it going to be? Dust is going to get everywhere, and that's just how the winter's going to be. It's going to be a major spring cleaning. So I'll put the car back inside. Thankfully it turns with a key, drives right in. We'll get this back inside, keep sanding, and I'll keep you updated on the progress as we go. All right, so Mother Nature has finally brought us snow. Now what that means is that I'm no longer going to back the car out or sit outside. This week alone, they're counting in 5 new snowstorms going to bring us in snow. So while it doesn't look that bad today, that inch of snow could easily be 12 inches of snow in 6 or 7 days from now. So what that means is I'm going to start sanding in the garage. And I tell you, the one thing I learned after doing the wide body in here is that sanding dust is like stripper glitter or sand from the beach. It gets everywhere. So the last thing I want to do is well, kind of cover up this garage in sanding dust. So I was looking through a Facebook group that I'm in, and there was a guy that outlined how he built a homemade paint booth out of PVC plastic tubing and some, I think it was 4 mil plastic. So I looked at the design and I thought, why don't I just build myself a sanding booth? So what I'm going to do, the next episode is I'm going to show you how I'm going to build this. I've already sketched it out on a piece of paper. I'm going to order the parts today. And I'll give you guys links to where I do it, but what it's going to be is basically a 20-foot long, so the PVC is going to be 10 feet long, because that's what they come in standard. It'll be 20 feet long, 10 feet wide, and probably about 10 feet tall. So the plan is to construct up a sanding booth that will contain, I hope, a high percentage of this dust that's going to come off this car. I'm going to have some filters, basically an in and an out, with a box fan probably pulling air out so it kind of collects the dirt up into a filter that I can replace. And if I ever decide I want to try something with painting, right, I've got to do the trim on this car, I've got to do around the quarter windows and windows, all that stuff has to be done. I can always do that there. And one thing with plastic, it will contain heat enough that I don't have to necessarily heat the whole garage. I can more or less heat a box, a rectangle or cube, however you want to call it. So that'll be done next time. I will show you how I'm going to do it. I'll show you the process of it and give you all the little pieces to it. Now, one last thing I'll say in the very beginning of this video, I talked about I became an AMSOIL dealer. I've got that knocked out. I've already gone through some of the preparation, certification and that, so we're fully good to go. And I have registered the domain name. So officially, Basin Motorsports is at Basin Motorsports, all one word, .com. BasinMotorsports.com. So everything in there, I'm taking a little time every morning to do something, whether it's uploading pictures, a blog, or anything else. So if you guys want to see how I write, you're welcome to go check that out. I will cover everything we cover here on the farm, everything else. So every Monday morning, I'm going to have a new blog out. That is my commitment to myself going forth in 2021 to really kind of push us forward as a business. So skull caps off, AMSOIL racing hat is on, and you can say it's go time. We're open for business. BasinMotorsports.com. See you next time.